Alright everyone, welcome back to the channel. It's Matty here from Chill TCG, and today we're going to be taking a look at the top 16 decks from Chill Series number 42. Before we get into that, before we take a look at all of those great lists that did very well last week in the tournament, I want to let you guys know that Chill Series number 43 is coming up. It's literally this Wednesday. We run these every Wednesday if you didn't know, but this one's going to be awesome, and you guys should go register just like every week. 100% free to register. And we have 400 Chilling Reign packs in the prize pool. And if we scroll down, you guys can take a look here. First place gets 100 codes. They get 100 PTCGO Chilling Reign packs, so absolutely insane. Definitely go check it out. We also have, for the casters, we actually have Ethan Heggie from Hexter TCG, and we have Rahul Reddy. Two awesome, great people who are going to be casting live on Twitch for the tournament as well, so definitely go check it out. Link to register for Chill Series 43 this Wednesday. It's going to be down in the description below. It's 100% free to register. It's super easy. You just click that link, go to this website here, you click register, and then you submit your deck list, you export it off of PTCGO, and then you just show up there on Wednesday night ready to play, and that's really all it is. So definitely go check it out. But let's go ahead and let's take a look at last week's tournament. To see exactly what went down. And we can take a look. 477 players. Of course, if you guys haven't seen the Grand Finals match for this week's Chill Series, you definitely should go check it out. It's the last video I posted on the channel, and it is one of the most insane best-of-3 sets we've ever put up here on our YouTube channel. So it's definitely something I recommend you guys go and take a look at. But, as always, we're going to start from number 16 and work our way up. One thing I do want to note here as I take a look at this, at the bottom of top 16, we have, we have 3 Shadow Riders, and we have one a little bit higher up. Shadow Rider did, of course, have a little bit of a difficult time this week at Chill Series with all these amazing dark decks, dark-type lists that did very well in the tournament. So, of course, that's just kind of how things roll. But let's take a look. We're going to start with Liz's YK. I don't know how to say the name. I apologize, at 16th from Poland, playing Shadow Rider. So let's go ahead and let's take a look at their Shadow Rider list, see if we can find anything a little bit crazy with it. Right off the gate, definitely gives me a lot of vibes of the list that won Chill Series and GG Tour the week prior. This is kind of a very common way people are playing Shadow Rider Calyrex these days. There's a couple of things in here which we'll talk about, but it does have the 4/4 Shadow Rider lineup, 2 Dedenes, 2 Marshadow, and then the 1/1 All Creamy with 1 Gengar Mimikyu. In terms of Pokemon lineup, that seems to be the standard. Everyone kind of seems to be playing that, and I think it makes a lot of sense. 4 Research, 3 Marnie, a lot of consistency there, and draw support on top of the 2 Dedenes, and all the 2 card draws that you get from Underworld Door. So very consistent, fast-paced list. 3 Boss's Orders. 4 Quick Ball, 4 Fog Crystal, 2 Evo Incense with 1 Calm. I think Pokecalm is good. I don't know if it's entirely needed. I think you can just run 3 Evolution Incense, but I do like the 2 Incense with 1 Calm. We run 5 Evolution Pokemon in the list, and yeah, we're drawing a lot of cards, but it's nice to be able to find them when you want to, especially those Shadow Rider VMAXs. 2 Switch, 3 Air Balloon. Again, all the standard stuff that we're seeing these days. 1 Air Balloon. Some people run 2, but with a deck like this, I think 1 is kind of just enough. It's not only useful to get those energies, those basic energies out of your discard pile, because, we want as many energies on board as we can with this list. It's also good to recycle through these Marshadows, because we're running 2 of our own Path to the Peaks. And I think that that's actually pretty important in Shadow Rider right now. I think that Path to the Peak is so good against things like an Urshifu or an E-Turn, or in the Mirror matchup especially, if you can kind of, Marnie your opponent, Path to the Peak, and then they can't kind of build up their board state on their next turn if they don't have their own Marshadow. Path to the Peak is just so good in the list, and with 2 Marshadows and an Ordinary Rod, and then, of course, we can search out those Marshadows with Fog Crystal. We should always be able to have a Marshadow sitting on our bench, and we can end our turn with the Path to the Peak after we take a KO or we attack. And that can really kind of help us in a lot of situations, so I think that it's really important. But if you are running Path to the Peak, you got to run Marshadow. That's just something I recommend on top of the 1 Air Balloon. I think that's also really good. And then he's running 1 Training Cord, and you see Training Cord a lot of times in a more Alcremie VMAX-focused Shadow Rider list. It's just really good. Every turn you can take an energy, basic energy from your discard pile and put it into your hand. So it's just a really good way on top of the Ordinary Rod to conserve those energies. And it goes right to your hand, which is even better, right? Because that's kind of how we want it with Underworld Door. It's interesting. Having 1 Training Court on top of 2 Path to the Peaks, but I do actually like it. It's another way to get Path to the Peak out of there if you don't have Marshadow or whatnot. So I actually do really like that 1 Training Court. 13 Psychic Energy is pretty standard. And 2 Weak Guard Energies. A lot of people are a little bit, skeptical about the Weak Guard Energies in Shadow Rider. I think it's good. I think it definitely can help. Sometimes in the matchup, like if you're playing E-turn, you can kind of get away with like benching 2 Shadow Rider VMAXs just for energy acceleration. And then you have the 1/1 Alcremie lineup to get at least perhaps 1 big KO, and they can't one-hit KO you. We have Ordinary Rod to shuffle those Pokemon back if they get KO'd or whatnot. But the Weak Guard energy, if you can kind of slap those on one of each of your Shadow Riders, that gives you a lot more defense in the matchup. You could even put it on Gengar Mimikyu, I suppose. Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where a lot of people probably don't feel like it's good enough. But I think that you know, in a tournament like this, where Dark was so prevalent and it was so heavy, I think the 2 Weak Guard energies is pretty cool. No Reset Stamp in the list. I do like to see Reset Stamp in Shadow Rider, but, you know, there's only so much room in a list like this, so it does kind of make sense. Either way, I like the list, and we're going to move on, but I like this one. And it's nice to kind of see the nuances of Shadow Rider. I've been thinking about making a dedicated video to all the different types of Shadow Rider lists and just kind of going all in on it. At number 15, though, we have Henrique Jorge, Chill Series regular, great player from Brazil, also playing Shadow Rider. So let's take a look and see what his Shadow Rider list is looking like. And now, excuse me, it is extremely similar. Right off the gate, a couple things that I will point out for differences. No Weak Guard energies, but 1 more basic energy. So instead of 13 basics to Weak Guard, we're just running 14 basics. We don't have that Pokemon communications in there, and like I said, we have 3 of the evolution incense. All the Pokemon lineup is the same other than 1 extra Gengar Mimikyu, and I do also kind of like that. The only reason why I feel like running 2 Gengar Mimikyu is a little bit too much is because you do use Gengaku so much in a lot of matchups. It's one of the main reasons why Shadow Rider is so good. But in other matchups, you'd never want to use it because, like, against Ice Rider or even maybe E-turn sometimes, you definitely don't want to start with Gengar Mimikyu because it can kind of just get KO'd. And then that's easy 3 prize cards for your opponent. Maybe not E-turn, but definitely Ice Rider. It's not a card that you really want to have out at the beginning of the game. So when you're running more of the Gengar Mimikyus, then you have a higher chance of starting with it and just immediately having it on your board, and that can be kind of detrimental in some situations. But it is such an important card in other matchups that maybe running 2 could be really good. Definitely interesting. For sure, he's running 2 Marnie instead of 3, but he has a Sonia, and I actually do like Sonia. Can kind of put some basic Pokemon onto your board. If you're going second, can be a really powerful kind of situation or strategy to kind of initially set up your board state. Because, you know, with a deck like this, you want to get a lot of Pokemon on your bench early on, a lot of basics. So I like the Sonia play. I do. 2 Switch, 2 Air Balloon, so we don't have that 5th Switch out. Interesting. He is running the 2 Peak, 1 Training Court, which I kind of like as well. But he does have that Reset Stamp thrown in. So a very similar list, but this one's got the Stamp. It doesn't have the Weak Guard energies, but it has the Sonia and the 2 Gengaku. So, you know, like I said, Shadow Rider, it can kind of be changed around. Like, it's like the same 55 cards for the most part. And you can kind of pick and choose which kind of points of the deck you want to emphasis on. So it's nice to kind of see the contrast between this list and then the last one that we saw. Both of them got the same record in the tournament, by the way. What am I doing? Clicking the wrong links. All right, that was Henrique Jorge. Big shout out to Henrique. Next up is Vaughn. I believe this is Vaughn O'Brien, one of our good friends, admins at Chill Series. Great player from the U.S. Went 11-4 also with Shadow Rider, so we're just going to kick off today looking at Shadow Rider lists. And this one is kind of a mix between the last 2 that we saw. 2 Path to the Peaks, no Training Court, does have the 5 switching outs. He's running 3 Evolution Incense and a Pokecom, so now he's got 4 Basic Search, 4 Fog Crystal, and then he's got 4 Evolution, or, you know, 3 Evolution Incense and 1 Pokecom, so kind of 4 ways to find your Evolution Pokemon. I do like that. 4 Research, 3 Boss, 3 Marnie. He's running the double Gengaku, and he's running a Reset Stamp. So Vaughn here is kind of putting that extra emphasis on Gengar Mimikyu. He's putting extra emphasis on finding the VMAXs, the evolution Pokemon, which I think is also really important. But other than that, you can kind of see they're all 3 lists that are different but extremely similar. But you can get the gist about how people are playing Shadow Rider right now. But big shout out to Vaughn. Absolutely great player. Great guy. Julio Franche, I think is how you say that. 13th in the tournament from Brazil. Here comes Eternitus. We had 2 E-turns make top 16. E-turn is kind of not even the most played or the most successful Dark-type deck right now, which is actually kind of insane. But Moltres does make a lot of Dark-type lists better. We'll see other ones in a little bit, but this is E-turn with Moltres running the Weavile GX Shadow Connection engine, similar to the Bronzong that came out in Battle Styles. You can move your dark energies around from any of your Pokemon. I think it's dark Pokemon, any of your Pokemon, however you like. And this is also just really, really good because with Galarian Moltres, like you probably know, you can take an energy from your discard pile every turn and attach it to Moltres once. That's +1 energy per turn pretty much, and we can move that from Moltres to E-turn or vice versa, however we want to of course, get more consistent KOs with E-turn. That was always the problem with E-turn, right? Was like Crushing Hammers was so brutal against it. Sometimes you just missed attachment for turn, and it kind of screwed you over. Now that's much less likely because we can kind of discard energies freely. We have after we get KO'd, we can guarantee that we have at least one on our board, we can afford to play all these different Pokemon because it's E-turn and we have the bench space. You know what I mean? Because of Eternal Zone. Which is a funny ability name. But yeah, I like it. One Phoebe in here for maybe the Luke Metal matchup, Decidueye, things like that with the Palp Pad. We've been seeing this for a while, I think, ever since Let Luke Metal E-turn kind of, competition was going on in the format for a while. Phoebe lets you hit through Zamazenta. Palp Pad shuffles it back into your list. If you KO 2 Zamazentas, you kind of win the game, so that's the whole idea there. And I also like the Cheryl, because just like with Metagross or Corviknight VMAX with Bronzong, you move the energies off, you Cheryl, heal all damage from your VMAX Pokemon, move them back, and boom. Absolutely winning play. A little bit difficult to kind of get that going, or at least find that card when you need to. But when you do pull it off, it is absolutely insane and can really turn the tides of the match. So I like the Cheryl. Everything else in here, though, it's E-turn. Not too surprising. 2 Yveltal, 2 Zigzagoon. I think Goon still needs to be played in E-turn, to be honest, because ADP is still pretty relevant. You want to be able to KO that ADP on your second or third turn before they Ultimate Ray. So I think that Goon is very important. Yveltal, free pivot, also really good as well from the derail and clutch attacks. So all stuff that I really do like. But either way, this was Julio. E-turn. That's E-turn right now. Pretty standard E-turn list, but a good one nonetheless. At 12 here, we have How S from Japan. I love seeing the Japanese players, top these events every week. It's definitely super awesome. And he was playing Dark Box, Mewtwo Dark Box, but as you'll see, there's kind of 2 different ways that people play Mewtwo Dark Box. Some kind of focus on Malamar VMAX, some don't at all. Some kind of somewhere in the middle. This list seems to be somewhere in the middle. We have a 2-2 Malamar lineup, but we still have, the 2 Moltres, 2 Weavile. We have the Mega Sableye and Tyranitar GX, as well as the Umbreon and Darkrai GX, and that's kind of the big heavy hitter. I don't know if Greninja and Zoroark is like ever that used. I'm sure it is actually pretty useful in the list, but I don't think it's as used as these other 2 tag team Pokemon. The list like this, I think, has the most merit because it's both a Dark type list and a Psychic type list, because we can utilize Mewtwo and Mew-GX if we need a Psychic type attacker, which is really good. And I think that Dark Moon GX is an absolutely insane GX attack. It's absolutely insane. Very hard to get off before Moltres was a thing, but now with +1 energy attachment every turn, Moltres makes this list that much more consistent. And if you can get a Dark Moon GX on like an E-turn VMAX or a Shadow Rider VMAX or an Alcremie or something, just to take those 3 prize cards, it's really good. And you're probably going to live a hit, 270 HP, and then you can go ahead and move those energies off, do something else with them. Malamar VMAX is a great attacker. Moltres is a great attacker. I like that we have 2 Dedennes and a Kricketune, Marshadow, Mew, a lot of just attack options in here. Now, the big hero, I think, with this list these days is Red and Blue, which I never really got to see it in action until the Chill Series Finals for this tournament the past week. It's extremely good because we can evolve, we can search our deck for that Weavile GX, we can evolve our Sneasel for our supporter for turn. But if you discard 2 cards from your hand, you get to also search your deck for 2 energies and attach them to that Weavile GX, which is insane. So some turns you can get 4 energies on board. And this is technically something you can do on your second turn. And if you do pull that off, that Dark Moon GX comes that much earlier. The Greedy Crush from the Mega Sableye and Tyranitar is that much easier. Malamar VMAX attack, that much easier. So it really makes the deck that much more consistent. It's also searchable with Tag Call, which we're only running 1 in this list, which is interesting. But 2 Cheryl I kind of do like as well, similar to E-turn. And 3 Viridian Forest for consistent energy acceleration, as well as putting them in the discard pile to use with Galarian Moltres V. So here it is, Dark Box. Spoiler, this was the archetype that won the tournament. We'll take a look at a few of these Dark Box lists before the video is over. But here's this one. Absolutely terrific run. Congrats. awesome to see you in top 16. Next up, we have the Zero Fen Zero. I'm not ever sure how to pronounce this dude's name, but he always does well at Chill Series events. He was playing Luke Metal, and this was actually our only Luke Metal in top 16. The more I look at this, we actually had a bit more variance. A lot of different lists, archetypes actually made top 16, which is pretty cool. And this is kind of just standard Luke Metal. The only thing that sticks out like a sore thumb is going to be this Dialga, which I believe is probably just here as an option against Decidueye. Perhaps. I'm not sure, to be honest with you. I don't know why else it would be in there. I think Flash of Destruction for 130 might be the reason. Again, I don't know, but 130 HP, you're a metal type, you resist grass, we have Full Metal Wall GX, we have metal goggles, so realistically, this thing is kind of a tank against Decidueye. It can just absolutely eat hits, and it's probably all you really need to have an advantage in that matchup. Maybe, probably, I'm not sure. Decidueye hasn't been super relevant at Chill Series the last few weeks, but it's just kind of standard Luke Metal. Double Reset Stamp, though, might be a little bit spicy, I'm not sure. Only 2 Chaotic Swell, with so many Path to the Peaks going around, I think that you might want... I think maybe 3 Chaotic Swell is what a lot of people are running, but 2 might be fine as well. You never know. It's also we're not running Guzma Hala either to find this Chaotic Swell, which makes it a little bit less consistent. But Shadow Rider wasn't the deck to beat this week. It was actually Dark Box, so something to keep in mind. Something to keep in mind. I don't know how the matchup is against Dark Box. I assume it's probably not that great because Dark Moon GX. And Zamazenta's not that useful. You know, and Zacian's 230 doesn't really sweet spot anything other than a Moltres. So the matchup might be actually kind of even, but definitely interesting nonetheless. Here's Luke Metal with a Dialga. So shout out to the Dialga and shout out to the Fen. Great player. Got 11th. JP Wizard 07 from Brazil was playing ADP Moltres. We had 2 of these bad boys in top 16. So let's take a look here. And this is great. This is great. So this is ADP Moltres. We're not running Zacian in the list. It's not ADP-Z. It's ADP-M, I guess. I don't know. ADP Birds, I suppose, is what you would call it. Focusing on the Moltres, so realistically, this is a Dark-type deck, but we are going to be utilizing ADP. It boosts the damage of Moltres, so now we're hitting for 220. We're also taking extra prize cards. But not only Moltres, we have Zapdos, which is going to one-hit KO against E-Turn and take 4 prize cards, so just kind of something like that, right? The list has a lot of merit to it. And in fact, we do have a Metal-type attacker. Technically, we have the Cobalion GX, which is probably here... I mean, I would think it's here for the GX attack because that's why most people are running Cobalion GX for the Iron Rule. It's a really good card. It's kind of like Diet Gengar Mimikyu in a sense, but even better in some cases because it's just a colorless energy. Can kind of be put in anywhere. 1 Marshadow, 1 Mew. So I like it. I like ADP Moltres. I think it's actually a really smart play in this meta with all of the Shadow Riders going around. Is it the best Dark-type list? Probably not. Things get a little bit awkward when we're running 1 Water Energy, 1 Metal, and 4 Aurora Energies, and we still have to set up with the Altered Creation GX, and it's just that much more difficult to get the Ultimate Ray off, which is really how you kind of set up wins with ADP most of the time. But it is a really good list, and I know a lot of people feel really strongly that ADP Birds or ADP Moltres is actually one of the best decks in the format. And I can kind of see it. Honestly, it's still ADP. It's probably, in some ways, even more consistent than ADP Zacian, especially kind of getting the energies on a Moltres is probably really consistent with 4 Viridian Forest and 7 Dark, 4 Aurora. So I like it. Also has good synergy. It's a good list. It is. I mean, 2 of them made top 16, so, you know, who am I to say? Perhaps this will win a tournament here in the upcoming weeks, but JP Wizard, shout out to you. Love it. Absolutely love it. ADP is now kind of like a cool hipster deck when it used to be the opposite, which I think is funny. Open Guilty, though, at 9th here. This dude is also from Poland, which is kind of crazy. A couple Poland representatives up in here. Got 9th playing Urshifu and Talion. We had 2 of these in top 16. One of them did make top 8. You know, honestly, I was really gunning for the Urshifus. With all the Dark-type decks that were high up in the brackets during this tournament, I thought that Urshifu really had a good shot. This is, I think, maybe a direct comparison to Alex Szymanski's list, who ended up winning Players' Cup 4 and the Players' Cup Invitational with Rapid Strike, Urshifu, and Talion. And in my opinion, is perhaps one of the best decks that we have, if not the best deck that we have. These kind of large Swiss bracket formats are oftentimes not too kind to Urshifu. Just because of all of the Shadow Riders that go around. They're just kind of fighting an uphill battle. But the list is tremendous, kind of like a checkmate list like you see with the Iron Rule Cobalion GX, which is absolutely hilarious, but super, super, super good. And another deck that I really want to make a video on, but I think everybody is familiar with the list at this point. And a list that's only going to get better post-rotation. But yeah, no surprise here. One thing that I do like is double Karate Belt. However, Telescopic Sight can be really clutch. I think that Passimian, for the most part, kind of fixes that math on top of the quick shooting Inteleons. You just don't need 3 damage modifiers in a list like this to do increased bench damage. I think that with quick shooting and Passimian there, all rapid straight cards, by the way, are all you need, and I think 2 Karate Belt is correct, 1 Air Balloon. So honestly, nothing with this list that I don't like. I think the 1 of Tool Scrapper is a little bit interesting, but it kind of makes sense, and I think it's good. We're running 1 of Reset Stamp and Escape Rope. We're running Shady Dealings anyway, so that stuff is all searchable. 1 of Tower of Waters as well, just another switch out as well. It gets rid of Path to the Peak, which is another advantage as well. So a list, in my opinion, that is built extremely properly. It'll probably evolve here in the next few weeks, especially when Evolving Skies comes out or post-rotation. I think that Urshifu is probably going to be the Tier 1 deck for, the next few months to come. But until then, it's getting top 8s, it's getting top 16s at Chill Series. Still phenomenal. This, in my opinion, I thought this would be the week that it kind of came through and won again. Unfortunately, it lost in finals to Shadow Rider too many times, it seems. But big shout out to Open Ogility, I think. I think I said his name incorrectly previously. I apologize. Hajime A from Japan got 8th. So now we're getting into top 8. He was playing Dark Box, and I think we have 4 Dark Box lists in top 8. And this one's a little bit different than the last one that we saw. And like I said, sometimes people are playing Malamar VMAX. Sometimes they're not. And I think that most decks that aren't playing Malamar VMAX are going to also put an emphasis on Silvally GX because it is extremely really good in a lot of scenarios. It has a lot of synergy with Sabrina and Bryson, that new promo tag team supporter, which came out in the most recent trainer toolkit, which is really good. We can search a deck for 3 basic energies. But if you discard 5 cards from your hand, I think you also search your deck for 3 basic Pokemon, which is, of course, really good in a list like this. You can get Type Null down, Sneasel down. You can get, your maybe your Marshadow or any of these tag team attackers. Definitely a Moltres. And go from there. We also have Red and Blue. I like the Malalana sprinkled in there with the 4 Tag Call engine, 3 Viridian Forest, 1 Goose Mahela as well. So I just really think the list is built well. I think that this archetype is actually also one of the best decks in our format. All this stuff is really rotating soon, so that's just something to keep in mind as well. But I think that this is kind of the last surviving like core deck that is built around Sun and Moon era cards. And for that reason, I think it is actually really cool. Double Umbreon and Darkrai, double Moltres V, double Mewtwo and Mew GX. Makes a lot of sense. That's kind of the emphasis around the deck here. 1 Mega Sableye and Tyranitar, 1 Greninja and Zoroark GX. Again, those are used a little bit less, but still really good in their own right. But the list is super, super cool. It really is. And if you guys want to take a look at Dark Box, if you want to see it play, the mirror match was actually in the finals of Chill Series, so that's just kind of crazy in its own right. Not this deck specifically, but this archetype. So definitely go check it out. But either way, I really like those Dark Box, Mewtwo Dark Box lists. Hajime, I don't know how to pronounce names. I'm terrible at it. But congrats to you, man. I really like the list. And again, thank you for representing and playing in Chill Series, even though you live across the world. Absolutely awesome. 7th is Angel Aranabar, the man himself, I believe, who won GG Tour the week prior on an absolute roll here with Shadow Rider. Unfortunately, the only Shadow Rider who made top 8 this week, surrounded by a bunch of Dark-type archetypes, but had an absolutely great run. He's a phenomenal player, an absolute legend at Chill Series events, in any online event, really. And his list is very similar to the other Shadow Riders that we saw. Of course, the only things that I'm really going to point out, I think, is that we're not running that Training Court. We're not running a 4th Evolution Incense or that 1 Pokemon Communications, but we do have a Cresselia in here, and this is something that I do kind of want to have a little conversation about. Excuse me. Cresselia it's really interesting to me, because we have a Cresselia and we have a Gengar Mimikyu. Now, for me, in most matchups, if we're going second, and this is a list that wants to go first, with Shadow Rider, we want to go first, but if we are forced to go second in a match, personally, I think that going Gengar Mimikyu and trying to Horror House GX on your first turn going second is actually better than Crescent Glowing. The reason for that is it kind of does the same thing honestly. But at the same time, it stops your opponent from really doing anything on their second turn. And that, to me, is a little bit more advantageous than Crescent Glowing and just adding 3 energies onto your board. So that's just something that, personally, how I feel. Perhaps against things like an Ice Rider where you don't really want to put Gengar Mimikyu in the active, maybe then the Crescent Glow is preferable. It just kind of seems like a niche scenario. I would love to hear from Angel Arandabar if he watches the video, if he comments below, kind of what his use is, or what's the use case for Cresselia. How does that really benefit you? Do you actually use it more going second than Gengar Mimikyu? Does that actually work out for you? I'm sure it actually has a bit more synergy with Alcremie if you're going with that route. Perhaps against E-Turn as well, it might be the better option. But anyway, it's a new card, and I really do think Cresselia will be pretty meta post-rotation. It's, you know, I think this is a list that's going to want to go second post-rotation because of Cresselia. But either way, definitely super cool. So, you know, big shout out to Angel Arandabar. He's also just a fantastic player. Kong. 1361955 from Japan as well. Big shout out to Kong. And he was playing ADP Moltres, so we did have one make top 8. This one is a little bit all over the place. It really is. We are running the Silvally GX engine. We do have Sabrina and Bryson. And again, these are 2 cards that kind of go hand in hand. Like I said, if you're discarding 5 cards from hand to find all these things that you need, you're going to want to also have Silvally GX to draw until you have some cards in hand. It just kind of makes sense. But this is a really spicy ADP Moltres list. We have the 1 Zacian, 1 Zam, 2 ADP, and then the 3 Moltres. So I would say it is ADP Moltres, even though we have the 1 Zacian. However, the emphasis on the energies here is actually a little bit crazy. So even though we have 3 Moltres and only 1 Zacian, we're running 5 Metal Energies and only 3 Dark, with 1 Fighting, 1 Water, and 3 Aurora. Funny though, you know, even though we have Zapdos in these ADP lists, you don't typically see the basic fighting energy a lot, but it is searchable with Viridian Forest. Just something to keep in mind. All 3 of these tool cards are honestly a little bit crazy to me. XP Share, Tool Jammer, Big Parasol, very interesting. We have 6 total tool cards in the list with double reset stamp. Running Tag Call Engine though, gives it some consistency. Still 4 Boss's Orders, 3 Cherish Balls, 4 Quick Balls. I actually really like the list, and it's something that I think people should try. It definitely feels like a Japanese list to me. It's a bit all over the place, a little bit chaotic, but sometimes those are the lists that end up being the most consistent and kind of being the best lists to use. And making top 8 with a list like this is actually really, really cool. And like I said, ADP, it's kind of like a hipster list. It's a little bit crazy. It's a little bit complicated. There's a lot going on, mix and matching a lot of different things. A little bit harder to pilot than it used to be. Definitely, people's perceptions on ADP has definitely really changed as the list has changed in the evolving meta. Shout out to the Metapod podcast. Anyway, okay, grabbing at flies here. Sorry. We're going to, let's move on. Anyway, Kong, big shout out to Kong. I really like that list. That one is super cool. We're going to have to move a little bit quicker here. It's already been almost 30 minutes. Cody at 5th in the tournament, at number 5. From the United States, was also playing Urshifu and Teleon. Again, the list in the kind of the players that I thought would win this tournament with all the dark type lists running around, unfortunately wasn't meant to be. But you know what? Again, another kind of really direct representative deck based off of Alex Szymanski's list. And I have nothing bad to say about it. I like the 1 promo Rapid Strike Urshifu V. And Cody, if you're watching this video, I don't know if you watch the videos, definitely let me know why the 1 promo. Is it because maybe you kind of prefer that attack in some scenarios? Did you only have 3 of the normal ones? I don't know. I just kind of would like to see your opinions. But yeah, here it is. The Jirachi Gx is in here. I don't know if it was in the last list. It probably was. I just kind of didn't mention it. But yeah, I like the 4 Sobble, 4 Drizzile, and then the 3 Rapid Strike Inteleon, but the 1 Shady Dealings Inteleon is really good. I know that being able to double kind of Shady Dealings and search your deck for 2 trainer cards late in the game might actually be more beneficial in some scenarios than having that 3rd or 2nd quick shooting Inteleon, which is definitely really important. I think for the mirror matchup, Mew makes all the difference in the world. And both of these lists that we saw are going to be really similar. And like I said, an archetype, you know, Urshifu doesn't do as well in these big 400 or 500 player Swiss bracket tournaments as it would in like a 16-man or a 32-man like Players Cup bracket, just because of the nature of how matchups work and how popular Shadow Rider is. But either way, here it is, and it's definitely awesome, and I really do like it. So big shout out to Cody. I also think Urshifu is probably one of the highest skill gap decks. There's a lot of hard decks to pilot in this format right now, and I honestly think that's good for the game. Seth Sold, 1986, from the U.S., got top 4. Now we're getting into top 4, and we have 3 dark box lists to get into. And this one's definitely interesting. It's Mewtwo Dark Box. We're not running the Malamar, but one thing I do want to note is that we have a Galarian Zapdos V thrown in here with 1 fighting energy. I like the 1 black market as well. Kind of very similar to other dark box lists that we saw, just a little bit of spice thrown in there, and I think that kind of a cool call out, right? I mean, for the mirror matchup, when you're going against Etern and whatnot, that 1 Zapdos probably really comes in handy. And it's definitely probably one of the coolest things that you would think, right? I mean, you see Zapdos teched into Psychic type lists, and that makes sense because they're weak to Dark. But you never really think of covering like the mirror matchup or against same type matchups, right? If you're a Dark type list. But I really like the Zapdos thrown in there. Definitely super cool. Yeah, let me know what you guys think. Out of all the Dark Box lists that we saw, which one do you think is one that you would prefer? Still see the Sabrina and Bryson in there. We're only running 1, and I think that's because we didn't kind of focus around the Silvally GX Sabrina and Bryson combo. We'll see as time goes on if the Sabrina and Bryson and Silvally GX is actually like the most acceptable or proper way to play the list. Who knows? I don't have a lot of experience with Dark Box, I'll be honest. But either way, definitely super, super cool. Shout out to Seth Soul. Haoshin S. Haoshin? S, he's from China, and this homie right here got 3rd in the tournament playing Eternitus, and this is very similar to the last Eternitus that we saw. A couple things, I guess, that are a bit different. We do have 2 hiding energies on top of 7 basics, 1 weak guard, so 10 in total. The 1 weak guard energy is interesting. Might have been the reason why he ended up kind of winning against the Urshifu matchup. Who knows? But still got the Moltres, 3 Goon this time. No Yveltal, like I said. 1 Evil Admonition Hoopa, which is actually really good in the Shadow Rider matchup. And I like the 1 Liepard V, basically a Tool Scrapper, but it's a +1 Pokemon on your bench. So I like that as well. I guess we can also kind of utilize the attack as well. But actually, now that I take a look at it, we're not running Weavile GX in the list. We are only running 2 Energy Switch, which is very interesting. And ended up kind of being our highest placing E-turn. So maybe that's just something to keep in mind, right? If I think that Weavile GX fits a lot better in the Dark Box lists with all the tag team Pokemon and the tag call engine and things like that, red and blue. But I think for E-turn, Weavile GX is a little bit, it's kind of on the fence, and a lot of times we see the non-Weavile GX E-turn list still doing really good, because Energy Switch, even though we only have 2 in there, is kind of sometimes all you need. And even with Moltres, which is a great attacker in its own right, something that we can kind of just deal with. You know what I'm saying? So I really do like it. A little bit out in left field, a little bit, in terms of most of the E-turn lists that we've seen recently, but I do like it. I like the Moltres. I like the Liepard, and I like the no Weavile. I know some of you guys might like Weavile, but no Weavile, kind of cool. Definitely kind of cool. Next up, at number 2, we have Jonathan Patricio, another Chill Series legend, regular, got 2nd in the tournament, made it to Grand Finals. And like I said, go watch the Grand Finals match video. It's the last video I posted on the channel. It's a great Grand Finals set, one of the most interesting and entertaining matches that we've ever put on the channel. Yeah, okay, let's take a look. And this was Dark Box yet again, but he does have a heavy focus on the Malamar VMAX with a 3-3 lineup. Everything else in here, though, kind of normal stuff like we've seen. The double Cheryl is a little bit spicy. We still got the 2 red and blues, 3 tag call running that tag call engine. No Sabrina and Bryson, which is interesting, but we're not running Silvally GX. So again, that kind of makes a little bit of sense. And through all the Dark Box lists that we saw, this one seems to be kind of the most like focused, you know what I mean? Like we have 1 Mewtwo and 1 Umbreon and Darkrai. Like we don't actually even have the Mega Sableye and Tyranitar GX, let alone the Greninja and Zoroark. We are running Weavile GX. I think you have to in the list. 2 Moltres. So I think the deck has a heavy focus on Malamar, and I think if you watch the Grand Finals match, you see just how powerful Malamar can be, but just how much I guess your opponent's top decks and the cards they draw really determine the matchup when you're playing a deck like Malamar VMAX. But definitely really good. I think that Jonathan Patricio here probably got really unlucky in Grand Finals. Again, no spoilers. You got to watch the video. Go watch the Grand Finals match. But definitely probably could have or should have won the Grand Finals match. And his list definitely really consistent, and he played it really, really, really well. Like he said in the comment section below that Grand Finals match video, the deck's hard to play. It definitely has a lot of sequencing involved, a lot of different matchups, a lot of different routes you can take. For that reason, I understand why It's not the most popular list in the format, but definitely one of the most successful and definitely one of the most interesting. It's so cool to see Malamar VMAX at the forefront of the meta. But either way, big shout out to Jonathan Patricio. Massive shout out to Jonathan. And just to give you guys, leave you guys on a cliffhanger, we have Eric Brooks here, who won Chill Series 42. He was playing he was also playing a Mewtwo Dark Box list. Yeah, got first, 15 wins from the U.S. We're not going to take a look at his list because tomorrow we're actually going to be putting up a video. We're going to be interviewing Eric. We're going to be talking with him, going over his list, talking about his matchups, and it's going to be a really fun video, really interesting video. I love interviewing the winners of Chill Series, so I really can't wait. Stay tuned for tomorrow when we take a look at the most recent Chill Series Champions deck, talk to him a little bit. It's going to be a whole lot of fun. But again, we're going to sign out of here, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Sorry I talked for so long. It's just what we do here every week for the top 16 videos. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe, join if you want to support the community, become a channel member. It's like $1.99 a month. I don't even know. But yeah, go watch the Grand Finals match, and don't forget to register for Chill Series number 43. You could win 100 Chilling Reign PTCGO packs. Definitely something to keep in mind. All right, guys, we're going to sign off. You guys have a great night. I've been Matty from Chill TCG. We'll see you guys next time.